Being none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed vote no. Minutes stand approved. And Commissioner Yount wanted the floor for a couple of comments, I think.
Two quick comments. Many of you know David Ray, the original operator of the market next door. His father passed in Raleigh. That's all I know about it. Except his father was a colonel in the U.S. Army, which is good enough for me. The next is, no matter what the Watauga Democrat says, Jeff, I am not running for mayor. And you not only did it once, you did it twice.
I'm not,
Well, pass my word on to your editor.
I gave Al the business. I said, Al, we rode over there together to file, and you didn't even mention it. This time, I'd like to call on Brad Shields from Brimco to give us a small cell project update. Brad?
okay. It wasn't long ago we were talking about starting this project.
That's right.
Yeah. But on behalf of Blue Ridge Electric and our subsidiary, fiber optic subsidiary RidgeLink, and also Verizon, which Judy's here representing Verizon, we want to thank the town of Blowing Rock for the collaboration we had with this project. It really has turned out great. I think if you ride around town, you'll see a much better Verizon signal. Even coming into Blowing Rock and leaving Blowing Rock, you'll see probably about 5 bars on your phone where you wouldn't see anything before.
Right.
But with your paperwork, I wanted to highlight the project itself. First off, the town council authorized the modification to the antenna ordinance, allowing antennas within 500 feet of each other. We couldn't have done the project without that modification to the antenna ordinance. As you know, we have T-Mobile, we have a couple of Sprint antennas in town, we have AT&T antennas. All of these like to be placed in strategic areas in town, and they start working themselves. If you want coverage from all different vendors, good coverage in town, they're going to be within 500 feet of each other. So by changing the ordinance, we were able to lay in this Verizon infrastructure to give you the maximum 4G experience that you could get. So once the modification was made, Verizon and Blue Ridge put in 26 small cell antennas. Now, if you drive around town, they're not really apparent, but if you look on some of the distribution poles that Blue Ridge Electric has, you will see some small cell antennas. They pretty much cover a lot of the territory in Blowing Rock. And as I said, they own coming in south Blowing Rock and leaving north Blowing Rock all the way to Boone. These antennas cover that area. And then when we got that deployed, Blue Ridge's subsidiary RidgeLink came in and put fiber optics to each of these antennas so that Verizon could backhaul that to their Jackson Knob, their big site down as you come into Blowing Rock itself, allowing for a great presence. So with that, with those 26 antennas deployed, we now have a great experience for Blowing Rock with LTE, which is long-term evolution, 4G, which is the best signal you can have. And I think as you work your way around town, you'll see a much better signal. But on the second page, just to look, this newly installed outdoor antenna system, which is called an ODAS, will allow residents of Blowing Rock to access the internet, send and receive emails, enjoy entertainment on the go, and stay connected with the people and things that matter most to them at lightning fast speeds. On behalf of Blue Ridge Electric and Verizon Wireless, we want to really thank you for your partnership. I included in your handout the 2 different antenna types that were used in town. One looks like a small can you'll see on top of some of the poles. That's an omni antenna, which covers an area all the way around. And we could use that in some areas. Other areas had to have a directed signal, say straight down Main Street. You'll see at the very corner here, you'll see antennas pointed down Main Street and then going towards Chatola. So the second picture shows you the direct antennas that are also placed. So you'll see those 2 types of antennas throughout Blowing Rock. Very small presence, very small footprint, and we think it fits very well with the scenic area that we have here in Blowing Rock, and I think was approved by the the town council. So on behalf of Verizon and Blue Ridge and RidgeLink, we really appreciate what you did to help us in partnership with this, and I think it'll really help the citizens of Blowing Rock, and also any visitors that come have a great experience with the wireless infrastructure they have in Blowing Rock. Any questions at all?
Just a comment, my signal's just transformed. Went from nothing, now when I turn my phone on, I have to lay a brick on it.
It jumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there the ability to grow from this? I mean, I feel like sometimes we went 2G, 3G, 4G. Is there ability to grow further from this? Now that you've got these sites.
Yes, the head-end equipment can change and change with technology. And if the antennas change, like the AT&T system probably will do an upgrade one of these days, those antennas will change, still a small footprint antenna. The technology of the day is to try to get the signal down to the ground where it's actually needed. With the bandwidth, everything that's being video, voice, music, everything that is needed with cellular and Wi-Fi signals now, it needs to be closer to the ground. And with these small cells, they can hit areas that a big cell could not. So it can be upgraded without much effort now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay.
Judy, do you want to say anything for Verizon? You want to say anything?
Well, kind of going on your question about can it be expanded, I think that it's always important to know that Verizon puts $1 billion back into the network across the nation every quarter. So voice your opinion and concerns by calling the 800 number. Get a trouble ticket, you're welcome to send that to me, and I'll do what I can with that information. And also, not only the entertainment and being able to have internet connectivity, I think that it's also enhanced the emergency services in the area as well.
Yep, sure is.
And we appreciate the partnership with All in Home.
This is proprietary to Verizon, your installation.
Yes. Single carrier. Okay.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Okay, yes, Kip, if you would come up and give us our monthly update. And I would inform everybody that this is not a question and answer session. Kip is here to give us a report. Thank you, Kip.
Well, it's good to be with you again this evening. I'll take just a second and recognize two representatives from DOT dropped in with me tonight. Is Doug Eller, who's your local district engineer out of Boone, and Trent Beaver, division construction engineer out of North Wilkesboro. Some of you may know those two guys, but wanted to mention that they're here and glad they joined us tonight. I'll take just a few minutes to kind of update a few of the things that's been going on, and then kind of tell you what to expect over the next couple of weeks or so. Just to start with, an update on the large wall along Chatola Dam that we've talked about for so long. The structural portion of that wall is completed, and what they're working on now is the concrete facing. So if you drive by there and you don't see a lot of activity on top, it's because now the work is pretty much down below between Chatola Dam and the face of that wall. So they're pouring the form liner concrete face on there now. Also, they've completed wall 39, and that's the wall that's right there at Tanger as you come onto the job. So the panels are up and the stone backfill completed there, and they've began the work for the wall just around the curve just south of 321 Business on the south end also. And that's another wall that's below the bank that you may not recognize anything's going on unless you actually stop and look down there. A little further out of town, they have started the excavation on what we call Wall 18, and that is just south of Green Hill Road. So we've got about 4 different walls that we're currently in some form of work on. Staying on that end of the town, last time I was here, we talked about the 12-inch water line that needed to be installed, relocated in that area for future wall work along the golf course. That 12-inch water line from Pinnacle Road out to Goforth has been installed, as well as some of the larger apparatuses, the pressure-reducing valves and vaults and things that go along with that. And they've just been in the process of testing. If you still see the utilities crews out there, and they've been making some taps to some of the homes and things. So a lot of the major utility work is on the verge of really getting wrapped up. There will be some additional work still to go down the, what I call going down the mountain from Green Hill Road towards the condos with another water line, but that'll probably take place sometime next year. As far as duct bank work, you've probably seen a lot of activity around the Sunset Drive intersection. As far as the main line underground duct bank work, there was about 900 feet that we were able to go ahead and get installed in that area before we actually turned traffic, as well as, I think it was a week ago, they were actually coming diagonally through that intersection, and again, that was just additional conduit and concrete duct bank work that we needed to get installed before we make this transition of moving traffic to the new pavement. And on that line, there's another crossing that needs to be done at Sunset Drive. We were going to do it this morning, got rained out, so expect that hopefully tomorrow if we don't get rained out. So there'll be, again, flagging in that intersection and lane closures as they get that underground utility work across the intersection. One of the things that kind of just a lot of loose ends that we've been getting tied in is a lot of these driveways. Even things like Subway Restaurant, getting the drainage and the curb and gutter in, that was a difficult drive just to maintain their business traffic and get that tied into our new asphalt also. And we've also completed the same thing at the fire department for both of their drives, where they've got a new entrance there now that's active and open, as well as the use of their old entrance. We've also completed the tie-in at Samaritan's Purse and partially completed the work at Food Line. You may have noticed, I think last Friday and Monday, a lot of curb and gutters been poured in that Food Line section too. So getting real close to finishing out some asphalt in those areas too. They've also continued the fine grading from the 321 business new intersection down towards the bottom of the hill where the old intersection used to be. So hopefully with some good weather on that side up against Cliff Dwellers, we'll get that paved next week also. Be looking for some curb and gutter to go there too. So we're real close to having that entire side covered with asphalt. Going back to Sunset Drive, and you may have noticed we've been doing a lot of paving in that intersection, and we've talked about this in the past, how that asphalt's just really got to come up to be able to tie that into the new pavement. So we've been, grabbing that a few days at a time. Right now, we're anticipating to do that again on Monday, and we'll have flagging again set up for all four legs of that intersection. But we're also looking at some things along Sunset Drive, and we met with Scott and Kevin yesterday to maybe look at some things to maybe alter the routes for the residents and people on Sunset Drive, so they're not coming down there and waiting in traffic so long when they have alternate routes to get out of there. So we'll be looking at doing some things to try to advertise that and give folks some alternates. Probably the big thing that would happen last week, of course, is the traffic split that we did between Norwood Circle and Skyland View Drive, where we do have the large elevation difference between the new road and the old road. And if you'll notice, we got the northbound lane up on the higher elevation, and we've got the southbound lane still in its old pattern. And they have started building that shoring in the middle of the old northbound lane, and that again will bring the elevation up so that we can then get both lanes over there. So if you've been curious as to what's going on through that area, that's the intent there, to get the road wide enough to get everything up on the new pavement. Just a couple of odds and ends type things. You probably noticed there were some signs added to try to help with getting people to the downtown area, I think along Sunset Drive, and then we also put a message board out there too to give people a visual as they're coming into town to maybe try to use Sunset Drive as they come downtown in lieu of going down to the 321 business intersection and blocking the people that want to go through from someone sitting there just trying to turn left. So, maybe that will help some with some of the congestion in that area. And then I also wanted to follow up on, there had been a request for the left turn traffic signals at Sunset Drive. And that has been approved, and we've got the plans for that, and I've given those to the subcontractor. And we are looking at actually making that switch of traffic, not next week, but the following week, the week of July 27th, of moving all the traffic over to the new pattern. And we would have that left turn phase, traffic signal on the loops, all that installed for that traffic turn. I think I've mentioned most of what's upcoming as far as paving. I do need to back up and probably just say, I've been talking about all the deep paving going on at Sunset Drive, but we'll have to do that in a number of intersections up 321. So you're gonna start seeing maybe some bumps in the road where we need to start raising the elevation of the existing road so that we can tie all these intersections in when it's time to make that traffic shift. We can't do all that at once. The asphalt's just too deep and too abrupt to do it at one time. So you'll start seeing over the next week to week and a half kind of some series of bumps in the roads at some of these intersections. So just be prepared for that. As well as, the only other thing I'll mention is tying our driveways in, and I think DOT's had some past communication with the businesses to make sure that we get all their drives tied in adequately too. And of course, once we shift traffic, then all that work will begin on the old road side. So anyway, that's what I have as far as what's been going on and what we're looking at over the next couple of weeks. But we are shooting for this traffic shift by the end of July, providing that we've got good weather to get it accomplished. So looking forward to it.
Good deal, Kip. So pray for good weather.
Anything else?
See you next month.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, Scotty, consent agenda.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and Council. We have 3 items on your consent agenda this evening. The first is the selection of a firm to assist with preparation of our general obligation bond execution process. We've received 3 proposals, and we're recommending award to First Tryon Advisors based on the thoroughness of their proposal to the town. Our second item on the consent agenda is consideration of the tax collection settlement report for 2014 and approval of an order for the town council for collection of 2015 taxes representing our revenues for the current fiscal year 2015-2016. And the third item is the slate of dates for the Blowing Rock Chamber of Commerce events for 2016.
Okay. What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to be approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I had a couple quick questions. Just on the Blowing Rock Chamber thing, it says pending. Does that mean the dates aren't firm?
Well, the dates are ready and identified for selection. We were working on a couple of the background things in terms of some possibilities with Art in the Park, but right now they're looking for approval of the dates, and then we're going to follow up with some details in terms of a couple of those events.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those vote no. Motion carries. Okay. Public hearing. Kevin? Appalachian Ski Mountain Welcome Center annexation request.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. If you recall back in June, on June 1st, Appalachian Ski Mountain submitted a petition of voluntary annexation for Council's consideration. This petition initiated the satellite annexation process for the 1.4-acre subject property located on the northwest corner of Highway 321 and Evanston Road. Property owners are requesting town sewer service to serve the Appalachian Ski Mountain Welcome Center, as the land has been deemed unsuitable for a septic system by Watauga County Health Department. Annexation is required since public sewer service is available to in-town properties only. Sewer will be available after the lift station and force main is installed for the post-acute care facility just north of the property, and it will be located at the Blowing Rock Lodge site on the west side of 321. App Ski Mountain is not requesting public water service, as they will rely on a metered private well on the property. The property is currently zoned general business and is in the town's extraterritorial jurisdiction. Upon annexation, the property will remain zoned general business. At the June 9th, 2015 council meeting, the town council adopted resolutions 2015-10 and 2015-11, which established the public hearing for this annexation request. Couple key points with this application. As I mentioned previously, the applicant intends to connect to town sewer service once that is available. Ski Mountain is responsible for the cost of extending gravity sewer along 321 to serve this property, and would also be responsible for the availability fees for any building connected to the system. Ski Mountain would also be responsible for any costs associated with connection to the public water system if a connection is deemed necessary in the future. As I mentioned before, this is not currently the case, as they're planning to rely on a private well to serve the property. Also, all other municipal services will be provided consistent with the North Carolina General Statutes concerning satellite annexation. Since this is satellite annexation, there are 5 basic rules that need to be met according to General Statutes 160A-58.1. By reviewing these documents and the petition, it appears that all the requirements of satellite annexation will be satisfied. So in your packet, there was a copy of their petition that was made back in June. Ordinance 2015-10, which is the annexation ordinance, and that includes a meets and bounds description of the property. And there's also an aerial map view of the subject property. If approved at tonight's meeting, the annexation will be effective July 31st of this year. And we'll take that boundary map and record that with the Watauga County Register of Deeds, the North Carolina Secretary of State, and also the County Board of Elections. It's a fairly straightforward process, and I'd be glad to answer any questions regarding the annexation request.
How close will our pump station be to Brad's completion date?
The date?
Yeah, are they gonna intertwine, or somebody gonna wait on the other one, or what?
Doug? Timing of the sewer installation, the pump lift station and everything, we're looking at June of next year.
Yeah, somewhere around middle of next summer for it to be operational.
And then Brad, your construction, you would probably be finished before that.
We definitely hope.
Right. So, if there is a lapse in that, I think they can do where they would,
Like temporary.
right, a temporary situation, they'd pump and haul until the sewer is installed. And that would probably be likely,
Yeah, good.
given the timing.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions for Kevin? Any public questions, comments? Not, do you hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote no. This time we'll entertain a motion for action on this.
I move we approve the annexation.
Second.
Motion and second, further discussion? None, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote no. Motion carries. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Brenda. Okay, next item. We don't have anything on the discussion agenda. Sharon, do we have any speakers from the floor?
We do, Pamela Dunstone would like to speak regarding 321 construction, and Charlotte Settlers would also like to speak.
Okay, got 3 minutes each. Don't start the clock. I'll start the clock.
Good evening, council members and mayor. Thank you for this opportunity. I was so glad to attend the meeting that we had recently at the Country Club and to hear that the Department of Transportation is willing to work with us to complete this road project in a timely manner. I think that's a giant step forward, and we are so glad the town completion date for Valley Boulevard, which is next year. We are all very excited about that. And we also realize, and I was thinking about the dentist today in conjunction with this widening project. If I had a root canal, I wouldn't tell my dentist to take 2 or 3 days. That would be a terrible situation. And I think that most of us don't want this road project to continue much longer. I'm thinking about those barrels that we've been looking at now for more than 3 years. And this is the image that is being presented to our town. And I've heard from a lot of people who have businesses here, because about a month ago, I went around to most of the businesses in Blowing Rock, and I did not hear a single person tell me that they wanted this project to continue for another 2 to 3 years. In fact, I heard quite the opposite. People who worked at Tanger saying, I hate to come to work here on the weekends or even shop here anymore because of the congestion. Now, I'm not saying that people, and maybe people with some good reasons, may object to completion because maybe their business cycle will change. And going back to my dentist, we have an individual who's worked for us for several years. One day he came up to us and said, I just had a tooth pulled, and that dentist gave me some of that oxy stuff. And the next thing we knew, he had had all his teeth pulled and substituted a set of inexpensive, ill-fitting dentures. And I'm hoping that we can work together with the DOT, with the contractor, and with the leadership of the people on this council and get this project finished next year. If the DOT says they can do it, I'm hoping that we can help them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Charlie?
Do you have a stool? Well, I cannot follow the same path that she's followed with the dentistry, because I think we all hate going to the dentist. But I think that everybody has jumped forward and taken a real concerted interest in the road. But I do wonder, you know, I know the discussion came up about the limited time that the road could be worked on, the hours and the days. I think, now I don't know if the council and Mr. Mayor, have you all have taken any forward movement with this yet, but I think it definitely behooved the town to move forward, allowing them to work longer hours, as we've spoken of before. I mean, we've got beautiful days. Let's utilize those days. They can put second crews on. And I think, as we all heard, that is an option. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, correct me, Mr. Mayor, that is something that has to come from you guys. Am I correct?
We did reach an agreement on certain times we could work. But
Okay.
they didn't allow them to work.
I mean, we need to utilize the sunshine and the dry weather. We all need, we're all working as a community now, which is great. And so I think that, I don't know if we need to make a motion, if you need to make a motion to change those schedules for DOT or what. But I think that we need to go forward. Let's utilize what summer we have left. And maybe we can speed up the process, even by a month or two. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else come before the council?
Yes, David Barlow and Danny Watley.
Okay.
Annual State of the Town, Danny Watley, 321, and Chamber Days.
Okay.
Thank you. Very quickly, and on behalf of the Blowing Rock Chamber of Commerce, I quickly wanted to remind everybody of the annual State of the Town. This event will be happening at the Blowing Rock Art and History Museum. It will be at 5:30 on Monday, August 17th. And I believe Mr. Fogelman will be there to give some information about the town. and we'll also have some representatives from DOT. It will be an excellent opportunity for anybody to ask any questions about the road. So just a quick reminder, I hope everybody can make it.
Thank you, David.
Hey there. I have a question. About 321. Can anyone tell me what happened this past Friday? Why there was such a holdup midday? I understand traffic was stopped both ways. Just had a lot of people stuck. Anything happen that we know of, other than, because I thought usually one lane was supposed to be open? Is,
I can take a stab at that one. They were doing, during Kip's update, he referenced doing some raising of, that's the new side of the road to help with the bridging. And last Friday, they were working on the Sunset Drive intersection, which is really at the epicenter of some of our main roads. So while they were making that wedge, they actually periodically had to close traffic in 3 directions. Sunset both ways, and then open to 1 lane on Valley Boulevard. So that was part of the reason for the backup that was greater than usual. And so Kip also referenced our talking this week. The next time they do that, one of the things that they ran into actually was that the lights at Tanger and at Chatola were not in sync necessarily with the flagging operations. So those traveling south actually had more of a backup due to the lights holding them back to flow through. So those going north actually made it through a little bit quicker. So DOT and Maymead are looking at some process improvements for the next time they do that. So hopefully it won't be as bad.
do we have concerns about emergency vehicles being able to get through in a situation like what occurred on Friday?
No.
No?
Lights and sirens would make their way through where
Okay.
they need to go.
And part of that process, you told me, Scott, they had to layer that asphalt to raise it, and they had to wait a certain amount of time when you put one base down before you put the next base on it, which created another time delay.
Because I had folks calling me, they were backed up to the Parkway
Oh, I'm sure.
on Friday. Okay. All righty. Well, that's great that they're addressing that. The chamber dates, is that not something that we typically ask for questions or comments? I'm not sure I understand the process.
And, it's usually not a public hearing.
Okay. Are those dates public at this point?
I'm sure they
Yes,
are.
they're actually on the web with link to that agenda item.
Because I heard some concerns this last year with changing the May Art in the Park to the same weekend as graduation weekend, which it has not been that in like many, many years. Is that something that we're concerned about?
We don't like to have it on, sometimes the calendar works that way.
Okay, because just this last year, okay, good. Because I think a lot of visitors and residents didn't prefer that either. Okay, all righty. Thank y'all very much.
Okay.
I want everybody to know this council, along with me and all of us, realize that when the road is finished, and it will be finished, the concern I have then is keeping our town relevant for people on a true bypass. And we are working hard behind the scenes, the council, with the DOT, with the chamber, with Appalachian State University, for a different design to entice people to use Sunset Drive, and plus we're talking about updating Sunset Drive, so, I just want you to know, we're doing that.
Thank you. Okay, Dan?
Mayor and council, I make a motion that we enter to closed session consistent with North Carolina General Statute, Chapter 143-318.11A3, to consult with attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, and consistent with North Carolina General Statute, Chapter 143-31811, A5, to instruct the public body staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the public body in negotiating the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those vote no. We're going into executive session. Thank you all so much. Have a great evening.